Thank you for that, DJ. So just want to check. I just want to know how has it been? First doing masters in UK, and you've done masters in management in India.
Yeah,
How does it compare? What are some of the favorite memories during your time in the university?
yeah. I mean, the two. There's like a time difference of 10 years between the two masters, so less than 10 years. But this, where I was back in 10 years, and when I did a masters is completely different from my current situation after gaining experience and then doing a masters. So that difference is always there overlay. But there are unique differences when you experience masters or a study program in India versus you are studying abroad. I feel that for sure there is a different difference in terms of how education here is. How would I say it? How
Hmm.
education um
It's
is
not confined to the traditional boundaries
yeah,
of, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. So
uh,
it's very, yeah, it's quite in terms of how sharply they not word sharply, but how painstakingly they have created this entire module. I think there has been a lot meticulous work that has gone in developing the curriculum, updating the curriculum, and being at the very forefront of what the knowledge is. Because particularly my department is quite well known for the kind of work or the kind of studies we do, and a lot of the curriculum is informed by the work that the research institute does. So that very much defines, the frontiers of knowledge or knowledge creation that comes through this research and development, and then it gets integrated into the curriculum as well. So uh, we get dispensed with a lot of these knowledge various means. I mean, but it's particularly interesting to have a backseat and have having seen all this new areas of research and learning um, in the classroom. The practitioners and people, academicians who actually are doing the research in their own field. So that's been
okay,
exciting. Back in
okay,
India, I think, so back in India as well, there was some level of research, but I don't think there was that close integration between academia research and your
Hmm.
classroom teaching. So that's been disconnect, and we've always relied on sort of thinkers or textbooks that are like not very relevant in that space. I
Okay.
think that needs to be updated. I'm not sure at this point if it is like that, but that has been when I was doing my first masters. So it's quite
Hmm.
um, interesting to see that. But
All right. And so what you're saying is, what I understand here is there is obviously peer learning because you are meeting people from different streams and different
yeah,
geographies. So that
yeah,
is obviously a big plus, which is something that you don't find in Indian universities. You obviously
yeah,
have a crowd that is more or less homogeneous, more or less thinking on the same lines with,
true.
and mostly masters, general tendency is that in India at least, uh, people come directly after the without having any work experience to do their masters. So
Yeah,
that being creates a big difference. I felt that during my masters in HR, I felt that people who
definitely.
had that experience, they could easily relate and then connect with the theories discussed, and then somehow somewhere give a perspective that's very unique, give a perspective is more realistic, more implementable, right? That's something that I felt. Did you feel the same?
I I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I feel they are a better consumers of knowledge after they have that experience because that is very relatable to where they are coming from and how they can actually connect to their practical experience. So when I did my masters, I was also straight out of college, so I was going very naive. But people who really stood out in my classroom were people who had some sort of experience, and they kind of, and you would know that there are people who have gone through the grind and not just the theory, and uh, and the way they come out is kind of helps them to stand out in the crowd, so to say. For example, even if there is a recruiter coming out, it is very, apart from few exceptions, but most of
Hmm.
the work ex people were very um out in the whole process. So
Hmm.
I feel that's been a plus, and uh, yeah, so that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, okay. And how has the transition been from a, so you've had multiple roles in your, in your journey. So I know I've been witness to a
Yeah,
few roles. So you
yeah,
started off as an engineer, then went on and
yeah,
did an MBA, then you went to banking, then you left
yeah,
banking and came to pursue civil service preparations, then you left that
yeah,
and joined a public policy firm, then you explore different facets of it, different geographies, different
yeah,
roles, different
yeah.
organizations. How do you, when you look back, does it all make sense now? Did it all help, all that
Yeah,
experience, different experiences?
yeah, definitely. I now can connect the dots backwards, as Steve Jobs once said
Steve Jobs
in
once said, yeah.
in
I know
his
you're a big fan of
graduation
Steve
speech.
Jobs. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Funny thing is, I also had like those round glasses once.
Yeah, I
It's kind of
remember
fake.
that. Fun times, yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So definitely now, okay, now
Yeah.
this is a specific area called Science, Technology, and Innovation Policy, and this research institute is very well known worldwide for this particular field of study.
Yeah.
And now, basically, being an engineer and doing a management. And third is about STI is about more science, technology, innovation has happened in different countries in different fields, but it draws very heavily from the sector or area of management. You know, why do managers matter? Why do big
Yeah.
firms? What is the role of big firms in the whole economy? What are the role? Why big firms play a major role in innovations and pushing the boundary? What is the role of startups? How
Yeah.
are they different? How are they placed in the overall scenario in innovation or pushing the frontiers? So it's been while I was doing studies on STI, I particularly could relate more because I had drawn a lot of academic literature from management, from MBA. At the same time, they also drew a lot of the information or literature from technology and engineering background. And
Right.
so I was able to sort of connect those dots which I was missing earlier. And when you think of questions like, what is why should you do an MBA?
Hmm.
Why should you do an engineering in the first place? What is your role in the bigger picture or in a bigger in larger sense, so to
Hmm.
say.
Yeah.
So that way it made more sense when I did this master's because it connected back to that academic journey.
Hmm.
Uh, but also in my work experience, I've been in multiple roles, basically in multiple sectors. I've jumped from managed corporate banking to uh, small policy startup that we were together part of,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then civil service journey, and then jumping into a different geography in Myanmar, focusing on my. By the time I was quite, I kind of that service journey was more of a space for exploration
Hmm.
because even before I kind of that decision to get into civil service preparation, I had two goals in mind: um, either to get into the civil service, number one.
mm,
Number two is, if I don't get into civil service, I should find a interest area which really excites me, and I can dedicate my rest of the years into that.
yeah,
So it's because civil service preparation opens up a whole sort of wide
yeah,
canvas of knowledge. It's interesting to test waters, basically to
mm,
say, oh, I'm interested in economics.
mm,
You never had an exposure, or
correct.
sociology, or law, or
Yeah, yeah,
constitution, or
right.
it's also a space I think a lot of times interesting to test waters. Okay, this is interesting to me. I should go on this, or this is boring for me. I don't want to pursue this. So it was like a sort of an experiment for me also to
Mm,
figure out what I want to do later in life. And from
right.
there, I figured that, this is something not very, at that stage itself, you're not very sure whether you want to. So environment was something that I was quite interested in, and I pursued that for a while because it kind of interested me. But uh, and when I was went deeper into it, I kind of lost interest in it. But what really opened that was from there was the energy side of things, and
Yeah,
particularly, so I did a stint in climate resilience after after the policy think tanks startup that we had
yeah,
in Myanmar, and that was where I was working for a resilience funded projects, and also I had a um, unlike in India, very close access to a lot of multilateral, bilateral players, international NGOs, and because it was Myanmar and I was posted at the capital, I had this very close network with a lot of different people. So I was part of the UNDP Civil Society Working Group. I
yeah,
was part of these civil society networks that were there, which are working closely for focusing on getting some outcomes in climate and disaster risk mitigation. So, so all these experiences kind of culminated my thought process, my perspectives, and kind of sharpened my focus more uh, within the entire environmental. There is a lot of streams that emerge out of environment,
yeah,
circular economy. You have plastics, you have oceans, you have all those sort of things. So it was very important for me to realize now. So this is your bigger bucket, the environment.